Welcome to another episode of the Main Street Spotlight. I'm Republican Main Street Caucus Vice Chair Laurel Lee, and my guest today is one of our Main Street Caucus members, Congressman Mark Alford of Missouri. For those just getting to know Main Street, we are a caucus of Republican members who like to get things done. The Main Street Spotlight video series is one way you can meet our members who are fighting for you and making sure Washington works for you. Welcome to the Spotlight, Mark.
Laurel, good to see you.
Great to see you.
You know, it was 2 years before I figured out your name isn't Laurel Lee. Your first name is just Laurel. You corrected me on that, but we came in together as freshmen. Good to see you.
And you were so right. That is actually a good Congress trivia fact that my last name is Lee. It's not all one word, as is often the convention. And
I finally got it right, though.
Well, I appreciate you. So let's start by you telling me a little bit about your district.
Sure.
What it's like and what brought you to Congress.
Well, look, Laurel, I love my district. It is right in the heart of Missouri, in the heart of America, 24 counties, just south of Kansas City, down to Springfield and over to Lake of the Ozarks. Primarily rural, but we have two great defense bases there. Whiteman Air Force Base, because, of course, home to the B-2 stealth bomber, which obliterated the nuclear capabilities of Iran. And then also Fort Leonard Wood, which is in the southeastern part of our district in Pulaski County. It's home to, Fort Leonard Wood trains more than 80,000 personnel a year. It's 10 square miles, if you can believe that. Big base. And then we have farmers, a lot of farmers and ranchers in our district. Missouri has the second highest number of farmers in the nation, 87,000 farms. And so I'm proud to represent them. And then we also have some big players in industry that are there. Nucor Steel has a big plant in Sedalia. So it's not all just farms and military bases. It's a lot of small businesses, which I'm very proud to represent, being on the Small Business Committee.
Well, our districts have a lot in common. That's one of the nice things about getting to do these interviews. So we've got a big military installation near my district and also a lot of agriculture. But there's one more thing about your background that I want to be sure we touch on because it is just so interesting. You actually worked in journalism, right? You were an anchor before you came to Congress. I'm a
recovering journalist.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure.
How does that inform what we do here or help you with your new role?
Well, Laurel, ever since I was in fifth grade, I wanted to be a TV news anchor, reporter. My uncle was an anchor man in Oklahoma City. I was a big fan of Walter Cronkite. That's all I wanted to do. So everything I did since fifth grade was geared towards that. Even in college, I got on-air internships. When I was at the University of Texas, got my first job in Waco, Texas, as a reporter in 1988, covering the state capitol in Texas, met my wife there. We moved all over the country. I worked in West Palm Beach as an environmental reporter. I worked in Dallas. I worked in Houston. In 1998, we moved to Kansas City, and I anchored, that's my wife's hometown, and I started anchoring the morning show there, and did that for 23 years. And I averaged about 4 hours a day on the air. I did the morning show and the noon show. And I have more than 23,000 hours of live television experience, which is an unofficial world record. Regis Philbin actually holds the title with 16,700, but I haven't challenged his record yet. Maybe they'll put that on my tombstone. But useless facts there. But look, I was on the set. I had never really thought about politics and the way our country was going 4 years ago under President Biden. And the way that journalism was going, becoming more woke and not really focusing on facts, but ideology and not having diversity of thought in the news departments. That really bothered me. And especially when Trump got into office, I wanted to really, our show was more like a magazine show. So it wasn't just reading scripts. It was talking about stories. And people didn't want to hear the truth. When I talked about it, what was really going on with President Trump and explaining some of his policies. I would get calls from the general manager, hey, come to my office again. We need to talk. And I'd go up there and they'd say, well, you've done it again. I don't know what you've said, but all these people want you fired. They've come down to the station, they've emailed, they've called me. I said, well, let's look at the show and see what I said. And we look at the show and she said, yeah, that right there. I said, well, what did I say that's not a fact? And she'd say, well, it is factual. We just don't want you saying it. It was then I realized, well, maybe I need to be doing something else. It wasn't until, though, when President Biden pulled out of Afghanistan the way he did and left 13 service members there to die at the wall of Abbey Gate. And then when their bodies come home with a dignified transfer, he's checking his watch to see what time it is. I was literally throwing things at my television set. This is not the country that I grew up. This is not a president. I decided then and there that I didn't want to be in a nursing home at age 92 and look back and think, I wish I'd done something to help save my country. Went in next day and turned in my resignation, never looked back. God worked it all out. It has just, through his providence and protection, like he has with our great nation, it just worked out that I'm here to be a voice and a vote for the 4th Congressional District, 772,047 individuals, Republicans, Democrats, independents, politically agnostic people. And we don't all agree on everything, but I am here voting for them. My experience, 35 years in the news media, has given me, I think, an advantage in dealing with the media, number one, because I know how they play their game. In fact, they kind of shy away from me a little bit. But I also respect them. It's a symbiotic relationship. They need to fill the air, they need stories, and we need to tell what we're doing here. We need our message to get out. And so I'm helping our chairwoman, Lisa McClain, for our Republican conference, and anyone who needs help, helping refine our message and getting that out.
That is such an important perspective on how we tell our stories to the public, make sure the folks back home know what we're doing. So what an interesting background for you to bring to us in Congress. So here's a new question for you. Tell me, what is it that brought you to the Main Street Caucus in particular?
Well, I like what you said about getting things done. You know, I'm come from a very conservative district, and there's concern because people didn't know me. I was a journalist, and not everyone in my district knew who I was. So a lot of people put trust in me, and they were like, "Is this guy the real deal? Is he really conservative?" Yes, I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, but I also like to get things done. Now, that does not mean compromise. I never use the word compromise because I will never compromise what I believe in, my core values as a conservative, as do you, Laurel. But I will negotiate to get the best deal. And that's what we do in appropriations. That's what we're seeing right now as we're turning this aircraft carrier around and getting back to regular order, step by step, incrementally returning to regular order through funding our government. And so that's one thing that really attracts me about Main Street is that there is a cross-section of people. There are many conservatives on that, and people who are in Main Street are members of the Republican Study Committee, of which I'm the Communications Task Force Chair, one of the most conservative caucuses and the oldest on Capitol Hill.
So you mentioned the Appropriations Committee. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on there and your legislative priorities.
Yeah. So I could get really wonky on this with appropriations, but I think it's the most powerful committee. I know you're on others that are very powerful as well. But
Energy and Commerce Committee would argue
yes.
with you.
Yeah, I know. But look, we basically write the checks for the government. And so there are 12 separate appropriation bills. And we all know we're $38 trillion in debt. We're spending $1 trillion in interest every year on that debt, and we're trying to get our spending down. 3/4 of it is, though, in entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. So on the discretionary spending, we're trying to get that down. We have 12 subcommittees. I'm the only appropriator on 4 of those: Financial Services and General Government, Commerce, Justice, and Science, Military Construction and VA, and what we used to call State and Foreign Operations. It's now National Security and State-Related Programs. Overall, the embassies, our foreign aid, used to be USAID. We've renamed those programs, gotten rid of about 85% of those. The ones that make sense, it's actually helping on our national security, we retain those. We put these 12 bills together by midsummer, late summer, and then get them to the House floor. We have to have all these funding bills done by the end of the fiscal year, which is the end of September. As viewers might remember, we didn't get our job done in time, and we didn't get them all passed on the House floor, so we needed an extension, a continuing resolution. The Democrats voted that down. They wanted to shut down the government. They were successful for more than 40 days. They finally came to their senses after inflicting great pain on the American people. We reopened the government, and now this week we are going to finish the remaining 4 bills, and we haven't done this in years, more than a decade now, fully funding our government and getting us back to where we need to be.
So now we have time for a fun question,
Oh,
which
okay.
is this.
All right.
I hear that you really enjoy playing pickleball. Tell me a little bit about pickleball and how you got interested.
Well, I used to play tennis. A lot of former tennis players now play pickleball who are too old to play tennis, I guess. I don't know. My wife is a tennis player as well. In fact, she was All-American, very good. But we just picked it up a couple of years ago with some friends. And I thought, I don't know if I really want to do this. I just turned 62, and so my body doesn't move as great as it used to when I was playing tennis and really running for balls and things. But pickleball is so exciting, and I just played 5 games the day before last with my wife when we were back in Kansas City. We can be very competitive. My wife and I are very competitive. And we're getting to a level where some of our friends don't want to play with us. My wife, I don't know if you watch some of these pickleball matches. It gets pretty tough out there. In fact, my kids, who like to play for fun, my wife says, you need to let them win. I said, they're 30 years old, half my age. Why am I going to let them win? And so I've kind of calmed down a little bit. But I do love pickleball. It's great exercise. You can play at any level and still have fun. And if you're playing with someone who is not as good as you and you want to have fun, you just play down a little bit.
Like many sports.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your
Thank you,
time today,
Laurel.
Mark. It has been a pleasure getting to talk with you. And that is a wrap for today's Main Street Spotlight. Thank you to each of you who are watching. Know that we are fighting for Main Street and for you every day here in Washington.